make a horror film out of anything, won't they? In this film, a haunted flute concerto is being performed for the first time in decades, but there might be a devilish reason why. But I'm more interested in the portrayal of the music instead of getting horrified. So let's take a look at the real-world accuracy of the music in The Piper. The movie begins with, wait, no, too many channels do that kind of format. How about we just cut to the chase? The musicians on stage are real musicians, so thankfully they all know how to play their instruments. They're from the Bulgaria Symphony Orchestra, and Charlotte Hope does have some musical background, although not on flute.
I wouldn't call myself a musician, but I really like to play music, which I think is a different thing. But I play the saxophone and the cello, and I sing, and I'm piano, and I play a little bit of bass guitar. I learned to play the flute for the film, and I loved learning to play it. And I mean, the flute's a beautiful, beautiful instrument. And I have spent a fair amount of time in orchestras. I don't think I have any real talent.
Philip Christopher and Julian Sands don't have a musical background as far as I can tell, but for this film, they both did a fine enough job. But Sands isn't with the music in a few spots, but that could be an editing error, not directly his fault. In this opening scene with the orchestra, there's a moment where the strings aren't playing, but we can hear them. I've gone on the case for movies like Grand Piano and Tenet for the tap, but here it's at least closer to reality.
Mediocre.
For difficult literature, musicians are more focused on their music and actually watching the conductor out of the corner of our eyes. And even if they stop conducting, we might not catch that it's a motion for us to stop. So sometimes a few taps are done to catch more members' attentions quickly. I'm still not a fan of seeing it, but at least it works here rather than a tuning note for the other two. Gustafsson mentions that Mel needs to use more rubato. This is only partially true.
I asked you to play rubato, but you seem to have lost yourself daydreaming with the form.
In the professional setting, for bigger solos within symphonies, usually the instrumentalist would lead, but there are conductors who can be a bit of control freaks and would lead the soloists. So if you're curious where the soloist would lead, this would include pieces like Mahler 5 for the opening trumpet, Check 5 for the horn solo, Scheherazade for the violin, and for this movie, the prelude to the Afternoon of a Faun would also be included for the opening flute solo.
Your music, it is good, but soft. I'm looking for something robust, muscular, like Franklin's.
Okay, well, I can make adjustments.
This quote is a little ridiculous. The way it's presented sounds sexist, but the words he is using makes it hard to actually know what the issues are. Every composer has soft and more muscular sounds. There are real-world examples of melodies being presented in different ways. The music here with Colin is funny, as it keeps a half step, which works for the horror music, but then there's the minor third, which is the kids' music interval.
I didn't do it right. They don't work as well as before.
The scene here about hearing aids brings up an interesting topic. If you have cochlear implants, music is almost impossible to listen to and enjoy, as the current technology only really works for speech. But Zoe here has hearing aids, so there is a chance that these would help amplify the sounds for her to hear better.
But if you practice enough, what you hear isn't so important. You'll know when you get it right. You'll feel it.
The comment about not needing to hear that you got it right is mostly true. Most musicians can go through their warm-up routines and even some excerpts without hearing what they are playing, but can feel it if they are off. It's not as effective of practice, but you can feel when something is off. It's a horror film. We had to have that half step earlier, but here we get the dies irae.
Where's the rest of the third movement? It's useless. We can't perform something that doesn't have an ending.
I know this looks bad, but
You can absolutely perform a piece without an ending. There are many concerto competition winners that only play a single movement, and on some smaller concerts, a single movement from a symphony would be performed. If you want to equate the situation to real-world examples though, Beethoven and Mahler's 10th symphonies would probably compare the best since those works have been completed by others. There's also Schubert's Unfinished Symphony and Bruckner's 9th that aren't complete. In the end, that statement is just incorrect.
If you do not have the third movement finished and ready for rehearsal tomorrow, you will no longer have a seat in this orchestra.
Do I need to explain that this is not how that works? You can't be fired for that reason. There may be some repercussions, but if this is the only issue, then no, you wouldn't be fired. While on the topic of this piece, it does seem odd that Charlotte seems to be the principal flute, yet the second flute is the one that plays the concerto.
I want to come in strong, con brio, make a statement.
Melanie, what do you think?
the flute should be andante. It should contrast with the third section.
Strong signals that he wants to have heavier articulations, and andante is a speed. Those are not one-to-one comparisons, as you can have heavier articulations at slow and faster speeds.
A special thank you to Miss Walker for making this rehearsal possible.
I'm a bit confused on this one. String players will wave their bows as a visual for clapping, but we have real string players on stage that genuinely look like they are tapping their stands. I need a string player to chime in here. Are there locations where this is done? I've performed with a large handful of orchestras in several states and have never witnessed strings actually tapping their stands with their bows.
You know what you were saying the other day? Is it possible that enough discord in music can actually have an effect on people?
No, music can't hurt you. Okay, that harmony and discord stuff, it's just philosophical mindfuck. It's not science.
This is actually kind of true. There have been studies where music has had a positive influence on people's healing, from nostalgic healing to rhythms aiding in muscle movement, especially in walking.
We're going to demonstrate walking with no music first, just to kind of show the gait pattern. He's got Parkinson's. Then I'll show a video with the music, and you'll see the difference. Now we're going to do gait training with music. We'll get the rhythm. Once we feel it, then we'll take off.
There are some weird rumors like the brown note that aren't true, but you can play a specific note to get alligators going.
So basically, crocodilians are very vocal animals, and the B flat is the same frequency as a male American alligator. So this should trigger Albert into bellowing because he thinks there's another male around, or he wants to, woo his lovely lady there and attract her over.
As far as actual music making you sick, I'm not aware of anything, but music does have a psychological effect that I think should be studied more.
Just get me the third movement, and you never have to set foot in this building again!
I don't have it.
Then get it! Miss
Please.
Walker, leave, or I'll have security escort you out. As far as I'm concerned, you are no longer a member of this orchestra.
It's never established what kind of orchestra this is, but from regional to full-time orchestras, this would not happen this way. First, her prepping the music is outside of what she's hired to do, so why would her failure to complete the music affect her position in the orchestra? At most, this would lose trust in her to write and complete something for the group. Second, ignoring that, every orchestra has procedures to go through for something like this. The musician would be put on some form of probation and a chance to right the wrong. There's nothing in the movie suggesting that she's even on probation already, and any musician on probation is allowed to finish out their contract unless there's a major issue of misconduct or something that threatens the safety of the orchestra, which I would say was true until she tried to stop everything.
It's quite clear on what would happen if you were late.
Just play something else, please.
Excuse me?
This music isn't what you think it is.
And finally, to close out, let's look at how she defeats the piper. She changed 2 notes from his melody. This doesn't make the melody more harmonious to combat discord as the movie states. I think it would have been better if the piper melody was actually more crunchy in its harmonies, and then a full-on major melody at the end to defeat him. Also, this melody is literally in the concerto as part of summoning the piper, so how would that defeat him? This movie is a mixed bag. There's some positive things that are actually true to real life, but there's still a handful that are like, what? That doesn't make any sense. So, mixed bag for this movie, but an interesting watch. So if you want to check out an orchestra horror movie, check out The Piper. But all in all, my opinion on the movie, not the greatest.